Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tucker, and today's video is going to be something a little bit different because I've been thinking about some ideas for videos that would allow you guys to be more involved in them and would be something that I could do every single week. And what I landed on was a series called Real or Fake. Now, the idea here is that I will send out a tweet every single week and ask you guys to send me some things that you would like for me to discuss as headlines at that point in time in the NBA that are potentially real or fake. The example that I gave in this week's tweet was the Suns are a legit playoff contender, real or fake. And I just thought this would be a fun way for me to have something to do every single week, a weekly series that you guys can look forward to, a way that I can cover multiple topics at once and get you guys involved and potentially have your name in one of the videos. So if this is something that you end up enjoying, the best way to let me know that is to leave a like, leave a comment. I know it's kind of lame to ask for likes, but I promise you that's one of the best ways that I can get feedback from you guys to see if you're enjoying the series and to see if it should continue. And then one more point really quickly before the video gets started, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to you guys. The support on the videos since the NBA season has officially started has been awesome. It's been hugely motivating to continue to put out videos 5 days a week. Just thank you guys so much for that. I just wanted to give you guys a quick shout out and appreciate you guys. But with all that said, we're gonna go ahead and get started with the first ever episode of Real or Fake. First up, Nick asks if Luka Doncic is an MVP candidate. And first up, some context here. If you've watched my videos for a while, you know that I am a huge Luka Doncic fan. I thought he should have gone number one overall last year. I thought he was the best player in the draft last year, and I thought he had a fantastic rookie season. And I didn't really think that the Rookie of the Year race was really all that close. And this year, he's taken another huge leap. And that certainly bears out in the statistics. He's been on an absolute tear through the first 9 or 10 games of the season, even when Kristaps Porzingis hasn't played, which that was supposed to be the duo, that was supposed to be the combination that was going to power this Mavericks team. And really, KP hasn't been all that good to start the season, and the Mavericks' success so far this year has had so much to do with Luka Doncic from his statistical play. But it's not just that, it's just when you watch the games, you can tell that he feels like he belongs. He wasn't intimidated at all in that big matchup against LeBron James and the Lakers. In any of these games, he feels like he's the guy. He feels like he can make any play on the floor. He feels like he can score, he can pass. He's even defending pretty well as well this year. And I think this is a legit thing. I definitely think he is a real MVP candidate. Now, I don't think he's going to win it this year because I think at some point we're going to see a regression. I do think he's going to slow down. I'm not saying he's going to hit a wall, but maybe 40, 45, 50 games into the year, it's going to start hitting him how much of a load he's taking on, how much of an offensive responsibility he's taking on for this team. And there are going to be other more experienced, slightly older players that are going to overtake him in the MVP conversation. But I do think right now it's pretty tough to argue against him being an MVP candidate at this point. So for me, this is definitely real. Now, as I discussed in my preseason MVP predictions video where I said that I thought Giannis Antetokounmpo was going to be the MVP this year and win back-to-back, the issue for Luka at this point is really going to be about, one, if he can sustain this, but two, even if he can, I don't know if the Mavs are going to win enough games for him to garner enough MVP consideration. Like, they'd have to win between 50 and 55 games for him to really be in the conversation, because players just don't win the MVP with crazy numbers unless their teams are also playing well. Like, Russell Westbrook won the MVP when he averaged triple-double, and the Thunder won, I think, like 48 games that year, which was good for like the 5th or the 6th seed. But that was really a bit of an anomaly over the last 5 or 6 years of MVP winners. Typically, your team has to be in the 50-win range, and you have to be one of the better teams in your conference to win the MVP, and I'm just not sure that Luka is going to get there, even if he can sustain these numbers. But again, to go back to Nick's question, I do think he's a legit candidate at this point. So for me, this is definitely real. And then moving on, Ariel asks if Pascal Siakam can win the Most Improved Player award again this season. And for me, no, I don't think there's any way that he's going to win it again. I think this is fake, but it doesn't have anything to do with Pascal Siakam or what he is or isn't doing. It's just this award has never been won twice. Like, this isn't one of those things that you can win twice, much less back-to-back. It's typically this guy won Most Improved, and then we're moving on from him, and we're going to go pick somebody else that's Most Improved. It's mostly reserved for players when they make their first big leap, and even though Siakam has been outstanding, and I think you could make the case for him for other awards, potentially putting him in the MVP conversation, potentially having him as an all-NBA caliber player this year because he has been awesome, especially considering obviously the fact that as a team, they're just not as good this year without Kawhi Leonard. The leap that Pascal Siakam has made has been incredible, and if he wasn't as good last year and this was the leap that he made, then he'd be a runaway winner for Most Improved this year, but I highly doubt that he's going to be able to win it 2 years in a row. It would be an incredibly historical win for him in terms of the history of that award. That just doesn't happen, but he has been awesome, and I don't want that to take away away from, or I don't want that to be taken away from in all of this. But no, I don't think Pascal Siakam can win the Most Improved Player award again. Next up, the Dame Era asks, CJ McCollum will get traded, real or fake? And for me, I'm going to go fake here simply because of the team that this is. The Blazers, if they wanted to blow this team up, they've had the opportunity to for a couple of seasons when they've had some playoff failures. If they really wanted to move on from these two guys, from Dame or CJ, or trade one or the other, then they would have done it by now. And they're too far in, they're too committed to these guys, and they can always turn it around as well. Like, they haven't had the start to the year that they hoped that they would. They just don't really have the depth around their two stars that maybe they hoped that they would. I certainly thought that they were going to be much better to begin this season, but I don't think it's a situation in which they're going to start looking to trade CJ McCollum unless somebody gets hurt. Like, I mean, if Dame ends up being out for the year and things go really, really poorly and they're going to win like 25 or 30 games across the entire season, then maybe they'll start looking at options for trading CJ McCollum, but I don't think that's in their mind at all right now. This is an organization that's been very stubborn about sticking with this backcourt, and to this point it seems like that's mostly been a good thing for them, and I just don't think that they're ready to move on from these guys. I think that they still see a path in which this season goes well, they turn it around, and they could potentially make the conference finals again if they make some trades. They do have some trades to make in terms of assets, in terms of picks, in terms of contracts. So no, I don't think that CJ McCollum is going to get traded, but I am putting a pin in this as potentially something that could happen down the road if their season really goes poorly from here on out. And then second to last now, my buddy Rex asked if Rui Hachimura is a Rookie of the Year candidate. For me, this is definitely a real thing, and it's not just a statistical case for Rui Hachimura, and we'll talk about some of the other guys that are potentially in the race for Rookie of the Year right now, but it's just when you watch this guy play, he just looks like he belongs. And I, just like a lot of other people, was not a huge fan of where he was selected in the draft. I thought it was too high, as did a lot of other people. But whenever you sit down and watch a Wizards game, which I guess isn't something that many people were doing all that often, although they are kind of fun to watch. Whenever you sit down and watch him play, though, like, it just looks like he belongs. He has the skill, he has the size, he has the athleticism, and it's just a case of one of those guys that just doesn't look as impressive in college, and as soon as he gets to the NBA and he's allowed to show off all these other skills that he's had all along, he just looks that much more impressive, and I guess that's what the Wizards saw, and that's why they drafted him so much higher than a lot of people thought that they should. And then on top of that, his statistics have been very good, he's looked very smooth, and when you're thinking about other Rookie of the Year candidates, it's kind of up in the air right now. Like, Zion's still not going to play for a little while, and even when he does come back, the history of rookies winning this award when they've only played 60 or so games is not great, and that's assuming that he plays the rest of the year. Then you've got RJ Barrett, who's playing extremely well for the Knicks, but they're kind of a dumpster fire at the moment, and not that you can't win Rookie of the Year on a bad team, but it certainly brings down your chances. And then Ja Morant has been good at times, but isn't putting up some kind of crazy statistical numbers that would really put him far and away ahead of everybody else. Then you got players like Kendrick Nunn that eventually, I think, statistically are going to start to fall back. So I think this is a real thing. Like, Rui Hachimura could definitely end up winning the Rookie of the Year award this season. He has a ton of opportunity on a Wizards team that needs the offense that he's going to provide. If he can continue to be an efficient player, an efficient scorer, an efficient shooter on like 15 to 18 points per game, this is definitely a realistic thing for him. And again, I think more people, as the season goes on, as more people watch Wizards games, are going to see how well he's playing, how good he is, and how much he fits and belongs, not only in the Rookie of the Year conversation, but just in the NBA as a good player in general, as a potential future All-Star as well. I might make a video about him actually moving forward at some point as like kind of the most underappreciated rookie to this point in the season, but I definitely think this is real. Rui Hachimura as a Rookie of the Year candidate. And then the last one for this week, Nick once again, but this time he asks if the Knicks should fire David Fizdale. And this is kind of a complicated question. And even as I'm recording this video, there was a Bleacher Report that came out maybe an hour or two before I started recording this, saying that the Knicks are not ruling out the possibility of firing people mid-season, even though that's not something that they are looking into right now, because the team just hasn't gotten off to the start that I guess they expected them to. And here's my issue with this. So there's two things to this. It's, should they fire Coach David Fizdale, or will they? I think it's definitely possible that they will fire him, because I don't think this thing is going to turn around. But I don't really see how you can grade his coaching job this season when he has a roster that just doesn't fit and doesn't work well together in any way. You've got so many front court players, a complete lack of guard depth. You've got RJ Barrett, who's going to play well for you, and he's doing a great job of maximizing him in his rookie year, but there's just so many other pieces on this team that don't fit that I don't really see how you can say that David Fizdale is the reason that this team is losing games when it's probably just a personnel issue at its very core. So when you get to the part of should the Knicks fire David Fizdale, I'm going to say that's fake. I don't think you can just say that he's a bad coach for this team right now. I think he needs to have a real legitimate roster and a chance to actually make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference with a team that makes sense before you can just say that he's the reason that they're losing games. But will they end up doing it? I mean, if they win like 20 games again this year, yeah, probably. He's probably not going to make it through the end of the season and what would be, I believe, only his second year with the Knicks. So this is kind of a two-part question from Nick, but for me, I'm going to go fake on should they and real on will they. But there you have it. That is going to be the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, this is something different. I want to try some new things. Like I don't always just want to do the same stuff. I don't always just want to come out with the same list videos and discussion videos. I do like doing those, and they're still going to be on the channel, but I want to, try and differentiate my content, be a little bit more unique from some of the other people on YouTube, just to see, if that works and if people enjoy it, and see if I enjoy making it as well. And like I said in the beginning of the video, the best way to let me know is by leaving a like, leaving a comment. Please be sure to do those things. And if you've never been here before and you like this kind of content, then be sure to subscribe as well. I post every single day, Monday through Friday, every single week. But once again, my name is Tucker. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.